side with this, with the new agency. So thank you very much. And I'll tell you a little bit about my background in voiceover work, and it was very fortuitous, my entrance into this world. I, of course, just talked about me being a singer and musician for many years, and a longtime engineer I recorded with, he said to me, about 12, 13 years ago, he said, Leonard, you should think about voiceover work. And I said, no, I don't want to be a voice actor. I'm an actor and a singer. There was me and on my high horse, and so he said to me, well, at the time he had an artist that he was also recording who was releasing a CD and who needed a promo done for his CD release. So the engineer was very clever. He said to me, Leonard, if you do this guy's promo, I'll give you free studio time for your music. So he's very clever. Very, very clever. So I did it, and literally within about a month and maybe a week or so, got my first job, my first regional voiceover job. Then the same engineer said, okay, you starting to get the picture now? And so I went into his studio and we cut a demo, and then it really started, and it took a little while to catch some steam, but once I caught steam, I never looked back. And I can't thank this guy enough. In fact, whenever I get a chance to talk to him, I am almost bowing down to him, because it's just, I would never have thought about this career if it wasn't for Andrew Manzano. He's based in Rochester, New York now. But and here's what's laughable, guys. In high school, I used to do the morning announcements every day for nearly 4 years. And though that's not quite voiceover work, it's very similar. And so what's laughable to me is that I told him that I had no interest in being a voice actor when I was already doing it in some ways. So that's what's pretty funny about that story. But that was pretty much my my inauguration into this profession. And many of you have gone to the website and seen the bio, and have done quite a bit in terms of commercials, promos, documentaries. In fact, how many people know the actor Wendell Pierce? He's been on The Wire. He's been on the new show Treme. Well, he actually was the narrator for the Metropolitan Wilmington Urban League. They had an event a couple of years ago, and he was actually going to narrate an opening piece, and I think he had sick or something. I was called in to replace him. And then I also recently replaced the actor Delroy Lindo for a documentary. So I've done documentaries, I've done audiobooks. I've sang to Betty that Dr. Creflo Dollar, who's a world-renowned pastor, narrated his audiobook, narrated several. In fact, if you go to Audible, you'll see quite a few audiobooks that I've narrated. And then most recently, I was a voice in the Hollywood film Legends of Oz, which had Dan Aykroyd, Kelsey Grammer, Jim Belushi, Oliver Platt, Patrick Stewart, and this goes on and on. We had a show, Martin Short. And it was a wonderful experience. It was a wonderful experience. And I'll tell you something, guys, and that's why this dream can come true, because for me, I auditioned, literally, this is no exaggeration, I auditioned probably up against a couple thousand people for this one spot. And I only had 30 seconds with no script. Pretty much the producers of the film said, we want to know why you should be cast. Just give us a reason to cast you. Now, of course, there's no script. So in 30 seconds, I decided that I needed to do two things. I needed to one, show them my ability, and two, I needed to give them some sense of my background, so they could obviously get a feel for my experience. So I figured I'd cut time by giving them my website. That's the best way to showcase what I've done and so forth. So that took up 10 seconds, 5 to 10 seconds. The other 20 seconds, I actually decided to do various impersonations of a few people that I do quite well, starting with President Obama. And I want to thank you guys for voting for me. and so starting with the president, on down to Morgan Freeman and James Earl Jones and such. And literally 6 months later, I got a call from Hollywood. And in fact, I was a little embarrassed because when they said I was cast in the film, I had no idea what they were talking about because of the amount of time that had elapsed. And I felt bad afterward. I just said, man, I sound like a jerk. Because when the producer's on the phone, Leonard, congratulations, and I'm saying, well, what is this for? So, you know, pretty embarrassing, but nonetheless, it really worked out, and the film came out in this past May, and in fact, I believe it's now on DVD. Now, the only reason I know it's out on DVD is being a member of the union, we get royalties every time it transfers formats. So once it goes from theater to DVD to on demand, we see royalties. So when I got a little royalty statement from SAG-AFTRA, I said, "Oh, it's on DVD." And so the voiceover business has been for me. It still is for me about 50% of my work. I also do quite a bit in the film, TV world, and the stage world. I just did a film called Facephoria that was shot here in Philadelphia. That'll be out next year. In fact, the other day I got called about possibly doing a film that Will Smith and Alec Baldwin are starring in, and that will be shooting in Pittsburgh. That's a good city. And this winter I'll be starring in A Raisin in the Sun, in a stage production. In fact, next week I'll be in New York to do a new piece with an actor by the name of Austin Pendleton, who's been around a long time, legendary actor, and he and I are co-starring in a play up in New York next week. So I'm busy all over the place. And for me, it's one of those things that when I was younger, I wanted to be a basketball player, so I never imagined that I'd be entering this world. So I know, guys, that your dreams of doing this is very possible. You know, and it's a step-by-step approach. It really is. It's a step-by-step approach. I kind of teach that the gradual way is the best way, as opposed to getting yourself expectant of a lot really fast, because it doesn't really happen that way. But it's a step-by-step process. And quite honestly, based on what I heard from your opening reads, I mean, you guys really, I mean, I can't, overstate this enough, but what I heard today, I mean, you guys are like halfway there. You really are, just in terms of your performance abilities. So kudos to you guys. I mean, truly, truly kudos. Next thing I want to do here is talk about a little bit of my approach when it comes to getting in front of the microphone and performing copy. I'm a big believer, guys, that voice acting is acting. It's just utilizing your voice. Of course, when you're in front of the camera, it's all about the eyes. When you're on stage, it's all about the body. When you're doing voice acting, it's all about the voice. And however, what typically happens is voice actors, particularly those starting out, are somewhat confined to just thinking that it's their voice, that they don't get their body involved. And I think to be a really good voice actor, you've got to get your body and mind actively engaged. It can't just be a voice that's void of body and that's void of imagination, because then the acting isn't activated. You know what I mean? And if the acting isn't activated, the voice acting won't come through. It won't shine, it won't pop, it won't have a lift. So that's something to think about. So the first thing for me is connecting, finding a way to connect to the script. And we're going to do a segment following this segment that's going to talk about script breakdown, so that you guys know specifically how to connect to copy, because that's really important, connecting and also detaching. Now, that's a paradox. How in the world can you connect to something and yet detach? Well, here's what I mean by that. You have to find a way to connect to the script, but detach from the words. Because here's what happens oftentimes. If I look at, here's what happens. And I want you guys to visually see this. What happens is, ba 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 ba, and you're locked onto the words. You're not detached. And the really good voice actor knows how to detach from the words. Now, it doesn't mean you have to memorize, because you're not memorizing in the voice acting world. But you really do have to know how to let the words go. Because I want you guys to think about something, and I've said this many times in these workshops. If you're on a job, whether at home or in a studio, and your performance is great, I want you guys to think about this. Your performance is fantastic. Some producer that's in the studio or some producer that's patched in or Skyped in says, Betty, that was fantastic. We dropped a couple words, stumbled on a couple words, but the performance was great. That's a good thing, guys, because the words you stumbled on they can go back and get those. But watch the alternative. You said all the words correctly, but the performance was nowhere near what they needed. Which is harder to fix? The second. Exactly. So that's why I tell voice actors, let the words go. You know, all of you, too, in this class are very articulate. All of you are articulate people. I've noticed that in your reads. And I probably said to all of you at some point that you speak very well, and that's true. So you guys just trust that you speak well. Trust that the words are going to come out, as long as you didn't have like peanut butter before your session. Your words will come out. You know, trust that the words will come out. Let the words go. Because too many times, you know, you get cases where people often wonder why things at Boomtown get wilder by the day, and you're so locked onto trying to make sure you get every word that you're not only are you not connected, but you're not detached. So that's why I say you have to be connected and detached. You have to connect to the spirit of the piece, and then also detach from the words. So that's extremely important. And then the other thing too is placement, and really understanding how to use the mic to your advantage. One of the things, guys, that happens often, this is whether you're in a booth or you're at home, the common thought is that you want to go head on with the microphone. You actually don't. You either want to go right or left, and you want to go kind of within the window of the corners of your mouth. So you kind of want to go here or here, and go slightly off. The other thing too, particularly if you're in a studio, is the stand is going to be located on the side of the microphone. So in order to read it properly, you're going to have no choice but to veer left or right, so you won't be able to look straight forward. And that really doesn't help you. So mic technique things, guys, to think about. If you actually go, so let's just say in a studio, for instance, you have a hanging mic, right? So you have a hanging mic, and if you allow yourself, or typically the engineer, to adjust the mic so that you are underneath the mic a little bit, what's going to happen is you're going to get what we call more body to your voice. Your voice is going to be fuller and richer. If you want to sound a little brighter, you know, so if you want to sound up here a little brighter, you're going to actually ask that engineer to put your microphone just a little under your mouth. So over creates more body, more fullness to your voice. But if you want to create a little more airy, a little brighter, you want to go over the microphone a little bit, just a little bit, over the tube. Make sense? Just a little bit. Now, what if you, and a couple of you have really intimate voices like Carmen, a little bit,